Hello, YouTube. This is educational content. We are reviewing a lawsuit that is a matter of public interest. We will be giving a reaction and providing commentary. Again, this is educational content.
Why on earth would Priscilla want to pull her own daughter off life support?
So that's a good question. Look, the short answer is we were aware of an internal struggle that was going on with Lisa and Priscilla at the time. There is a lot of documentation to support our claims.
Guys, I have purchased the Priscilla Presley lawsuit that everybody's talking about. Apparently, it's been said that this lawsuit says that Priscilla Presley pulled the plug on Lisa Marie Presley. Okay? Listen, I had to go out there and buy it, and I sure as hell did. This was not on Pacer, so I had to go straight to the Superior Court for this lawsuit. Now, as y'all can see, look at my hair. I am still under the weather, so I'm going to be in and out of camera, putting different pictures and everything. But listen, let me know what you guys think about this lawsuit as we are reviewing it. Let's go. This is the $50 million lawsuit. Priscilla Presley's former business partners, Bridget Cruz and Kevin Fialco, I think that's how you say his last name, filed this lawsuit in the Los Angeles Superior Court seeking $50 million in damages. They accuse her of fraud and breach of contract. Well, they make a lot of accusations, okay? So the core of these allegations that we know so far is that Priscilla hid decades-old agreements, specifically a 2005 sale of her name and likeness rights, while they invested significant time and capital to revitalize her brand, okay? They accuse her of publicly smearing them after broking a deal in 2023 that netted her 2.4 million, only to cut them out of the subsequent earnings. And also, this is the other part, the lawsuit alleges that Priscilla withdrew medical care from her daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, in 2023 in a calculated effort to regain control over the Promenade Trust and Graceland estate. We are going to review this lawsuit because apparently it's fairly explosive. Y'all, let me know what you guys think in the comments about it, okay? And for those that don't know, Priscilla Presley has had pretty big ties to Scientology as well, okay? So it does kind of make you wonder if any of that plays into this. Let's go. All right, so Bridget Cruz is an individual and Kevin Fialco is the other individual with Priscilla Presley Partners LLC, and they are suing Priscilla Presley and Kaya Morgan and does 1 through 10. And they are alleging this complaint is for fraud in the inducement common court, goods and services rendered, conversions, breach of contract, intentional interference with contract, misappropriation of name and likeness, breach of contract, intentional interference with contract, and intentional interference with prospective economic advantage. Okay. So let's go to the summary of the case. All right, shouldn't take us too long. Elvis Presley is the king of rock and roll. Defendant Priscilla Presley, defendant or Priscilla Presley or Priscilla, always wanted to be the queen. In fact, despite flaunting a public persona that only wanted to protect and keep her family together, Priscilla ultimately wanted one thing: power, no matter the cost. She did anything she could to control her image with the public. What stood in Priscilla's way was a tumultuous and tenuous relationship with her daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, Lisa, Elvis, and Priscilla's only daughter. After Elvis's death on August 16, 1977, his estate was placed in a trust for Lisa, his sole heir, who became the sole beneficiary of the trust after Lisa's grandfather and great grandmother each passed. Elvis's father, Vernon, was the initial trustee and executor of Elvis's estate. While Vernon was on his deathbed in 1979 and was otherwise weak and unable to defend the estate, Priscilla, the opportunist, who only thought of herself, placed a lien on Graceland, strong-arming Vernon into making her co-executor of the estate, taking over management of the trust. Oh my God. Now, let me time out here, y'all. Okay. They're literally calling her an opportunist here. They're calling the lady an opportunist. Do you guys remember there was like a documentary, I think that Priscilla Presley participated in, where she talked about She was a young girl marrying and connecting with Elvis and having to, you know, be with this man. I feel like I might have watched it a little bit. It was a very interesting, her side of the story type of documentary. So I don't know. I mean, she went through a lot, years of abuse, alleged abuse under Elvis Presley. Wouldn't she deserve any of the estate? I mean, let me know. Let me know. Don't come for my neck. This is just a question, all right? I'm sick. Don't come for my neck. Okay, let's keep going. The original trust dissolved on February 1st, 1993, when Lisa turned 25, at which point she inherited the estate. Since Priscilla divorced Elvis, she was effectively entitled to nothing, as she was not mentioned in Elvis's will. And in fact, pursuant to her divorce agreement, she was supposed to stop using the surname Presley. Oh, okay. I didn't know this. After Elvis died in 1977, however, Priscilla continued to use the Presley name, as she needed to exploit the name for her own financial gain despite Elvis's wishes otherwise. Priscilla's use of the Presley name and ultimately her name, image, and likeness were crucial to her survival. Oh, dang, they really are painting the lady like an opportunist. What is going on? And there's some footnotes here. Okay, so let's read a footnote. Each of the plaintiffs may be referred to herein individually as plaintiff or collectively as the plaintiffs. Defendant Priscilla Presley is generally referred to by her first name, Priscilla, in the context of factual allegations in this complaint, because multiple other individuals using the same last name here, Presley, are referred to herein. The complaint therefore generally refers to the defendant's Presley by her first name to avoid confusion in the causes of action section. However, defendant Presley is referred to by her last name, since plaintiff only have claims against one member of the Presley family pursuant to this complaint. Okay. I guess that really matters, but okay. It further goes, since Lisa was the sole heir of Elvis's estate, which included ownership and control of Graceland, Priscilla was substantially dependent upon and intertwined with Lisa. Priscilla clung to Lisa and could not fathom being a mere afterthought of the Presley legacy. After all, in her mind, she was the queen. Priscilla nevertheless resented Lisa and even brought her to the Church of Scientology at a young age. Oh, uh, oh, look at this. They even throw in Scientology in there. Look, I am clutching my invisible pearls, okay? Doing okay, so let me get a hold of myself. Priscilla nevertheless resented Lisa and even brought her to the Church of Scientology at a young age, doing cocaine with Lisa and getting her hooked on drugs. In reality, Priscilla envied Lisa for always being in the spotlight. In public, Priscilla portrayed the opposite persona, one of a doting mother and matriarch, known to her grandchildren as Nona. This was her image, but nothing could be further from the truth. Okay. Yeah. Like, let me hold my breath. Please do tell. It's the first time I'm reading this and I'm congested, so I apologize. I'm having a real reaction. Please do tell what this is all about. And by the way, I put a little sticker up there because I did purchase these documents and I don't want them to be stolen and that proper credit be given to the channel. If my content is used, as long as credit is given, I'm pretty cool about it. Let me go ahead and keep going. When Lisa came into her inheritance in 1993 at the age of 25, she established her own trust, which was ultimately called the Promenade Trust. The trust was a revocable living trust designed to protect Lisa's assets and manage her inheritance from Elvis's estate, including Graceland, value in aggregate at the time at around 100 million. Promenade Financial Management, Barry Siegel, Priscilla's longtime financial manager, became heavily involved in managing Lisa's finances. Despite Elvis's wishes otherwise, Priscilla continued to exploit the Presley name to fund her lifestyle, eventually deploying another part of her master plan to live off of the Presley name. Priscilla demanded 6.5 million in 2005 for her own personal gain and so she could compete against Lisa, her own daughter. Priscilla deliberately chose to ignore Elvis's wishes, attempting to forever live off of Elvis's hard work and good name, entering into a purchase and sale agreement with Elvis Presley Enterprise, an entity, and they call it EPE, an entity that is majority owner by the Authentic Brand Group, ABG. The Authentic Brands Group, ABG. EPE manages Elvis's intellectual property, including his name, image, and likeness. In 2010, under Siegel and Priscilla's ownership, Lisa amended the Prominent Trust, listing Priscilla and Siegel as co-trustees and executing an advanced health care directive where Lisa specifically instructed that she wanted her life to be prolonged as long as possible in making end of life decisions. Emphasis added. They have an exhibit of this? Oh my god. Okay. All right. After becoming aware that Priscilla and Siegel mismanaged her finances, stealing money from her, Lisa amended the Prominent Trust gain in 2016, appointing herself as a trustee and listing her son and daughter, Ben and Riley Keough, as successors trustees. Lisa filed suit against Siegel in 2018 for financial mismanagement. Lisa agreed not to name Priscilla in her claims against Siegel if Priscilla agreed to not speak to the Department of Child and Family Services in the midst of Lisa's divorce to Michael Lockwood. Priscilla, tied to the hip of her co-conspirator, Siegel ultimately abandoned Lisa and pursued greed, ensuring that Siegel maintained a role as her business manager. Lisa and Priscilla were estranged, and Priscilla was once again on the outside looking in. Oh my God. So, what this lawsuit is alleging is that this Siegel guy and Priscilla were kind of like in cahoots, and Lisa agreed not to name Priscilla in the claims against Siegel if she agreed not to speak to DCF, to DCFS because of the divorce. Okay. Wow. Despite her doting public persona, Priscilla had an obsession with being known, like Elvis, and she led a lavish lifestyle, ultimately burning through the 6.5 million that she was able to extricate from the estate, despite Elvis's wishes in their divorce that she not use his name. By 2021, Priscilla was financially destitute. Although she lived a fast-paced, glamorous life, in reality, she owed nearly 700,000 to the IRS and was broke. In 2022, Priscilla approached plaintiff Cruz, a well-known auctioneer who had a reputation for selling coveted Elvis Presley memorabilia, and plaintiff Fialco, a Desert Storm veteran and successful entrepreneur who had amassed an impressive collection of Elvis Presley memorabilia to help correct her financial affairs, which were in severe distress. So there's exhibits to this. We're going to read these exhibits here in a minute. Okay. See Exhibit B, a memorandum of understanding Priscilla used to induce Cruz and Fialco to invest in her. Cruz, a mother of two special needs children who had been honored by the United States Congress and the mayor of Los Angeles, and who had been knighted by a royal family for her work serving special needs children, and Fialco accepted Presley's request and devoted themselves full time to assist repairing, stabilizing, and improving Presley's financial situation. So, two different people from different walks of life agreed to help Priscilla Presley with her financial situation by, I'm assuming, auctioning things. Is that what that sounds like? What do you guys think in the comments? Among other strategies, Cruz, Fialco, and Priscilla worked to exploit her name, image, and likeness. Cruz and Fialco deployed IP, know how, and creative marketing to enhance Priscilla's brand. To that end, at Priscilla's request and with Priscilla's attorney, Lynn Walker Wright, attorney Wright, they formed several companies in a silo structure to own and manage and exploit Priscilla's NIL and name, image, and likeness. NIL, so it's abbreviation, and exploit Priscilla's name, image, and likeness, which were to be managed by Cruz and Fialco for the benefit of Priscilla and Cruz and Fialco. Okay, so they all benefited from exploiting Priscilla's image. Priscilla's licensed her NIL rights to Priscilla Presley Partners, PPP, for PPP and its sub licensees exclusive use. PPP in turn gave non exclusive sub licenses in Priscilla's name, image, and likeness to PBPBK2. Okay, I guess it's another company here. God, these names. Recollections and virtual recollections to pursue their various business objectives. Priscilla further entered into multiple agreements regarding her NIL, in which she agreed not to compete and to cooperate with the exploitation of her NIL. So she exploited her name, image, and likeness. And she agreed there's a signature contract there. Priscilla further agreed to disclose business opportunities for the benefit of the companies. Okay, Priscilla never disclosed to Cruz and Fialco, who invested thousands of hours of their time and who otherwise invested millions of dollars into Priscilla, that she previously sold the rights to exploit her name, image, and likeness years before in 2005. Oh, so, okay, that's interesting. How did they find out? Despite Priscilla's misrepresentation, Cruz and Fialco worked feverishly to maximize the value of Priscilla's name, spending countless hours cleaning up or otherwise handling numerous disputes Priscilla was involved in, drafting public statements for her, and otherwise controlling and growing her image and brand. Cruz and Fialco ignored their own businesses, which suffered financially because Priscilla's finances were in shambles and required full-time attention. Okay, so like, was this like her little PR team? Was there a contract for them to do this? Or did they just volunteer because they were like Elvis enthusiasts? I don't know. Let's keep going. When Priscilla first approached Cruz and Fialco, Patreons were paying about 30 per ticket for appearances. Her shows almost never sold out, and Priscilla was earning a net profit of around 6,000 to 9,500 per event, despite spending upwards of 90,000 per month on their lifestyle. Cruz and Fialco used their combined business experience to set up a Q&A and corporate events, increasing ticket prices to as much as 750, and Priscilla began earning a net profit between 25,000 and 50,000 for given events. Okay, so Priscilla Presley is giving events. What does she do in her events? I mean, she's not like, maybe I just don't know too much. Hold up, y'all. So I'm looking into this and I'm actually looking at her website. She does like an evening with Priscilla Presley. But I mean, she's not a performer, right? Like, does she sing? Does she Y'all, I feel really dumb asking that question, but I have to ask it. Like, does she give TED Talks? What does she do? What are her events about? She's not like a performer. She has conversations that go beyond normal conversations where she shares intimate memories of her life with Elvis, exclusive home movies, never before seen clips. She does like a Q&A, and she talks to Elvis's fans. So that is what her performances are. Like, they're just conversations about her life with Elvis, right? Which, I mean, that's how we know her, right? So there's that. Okay. By the end of 2022, Cruz and Fialco had already invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into Priscilla, building out numerous brands around her. Baz Luhrmann's Elvis opened at the box office in June of the same year and was earning significant awards, season buzz, ultimately being nominated for 8 Academy Awards. Cruz and Fialco saw it as an opportunity to continue to course correct Priscilla's brand, but Priscilla saw it as an opportunity to get back into the spotlight and gain control. Okay, and there's a footnote here. Fialco also came up with the idea for Priscilla to write Softly as I Leave You, Life After Elvis, now set to publish on September 23, 2025. Plaintiffs have now been forced to send cease and desist letters since Presley is exploiting her name, image, and likeness without including plaintiff in direct violation of her agreements. Oh man, okay. Lisa and Priscilla were each planning to attend the 2023 Golden Globes on January 10, 2023, in support of Elvis. But Lisa had no desire to see or otherwise be near Priscilla. Lisa had been in a long running dispute with Siegel, and she resented that Priscilla stayed with Siegel, further betraying her trust. Crucially, Priscilla was aware that Lisa was getting ready to remove her as the sole trustee of Lisa's irrevocable life insurance trust and was otherwise threatening to sue her. Cruz and Fialco nevertheless worked to keep the family together, working with Priscilla's publicist and arranging for Lisa and Priscilla to walk the red carpet together and sit next to one another at the event. Lisa was noticeably ill, complaining to Priscilla about her health. Priscilla ignored the warning signs despite being only a short drive from the world renowned Cedar Sinai Medical Center. Instead, Priscilla clasped to the spotlight, going out to the Chateau Marmont for drinks with Lisa, and then sent Lisa on a long drive to her Calabasas home. Within just over 24 hours, Lisa suffered cardiac arrest on Thursday, January 12th, and was rushed to West Hills Hospital. Wow. So this was shortly after this little event. That's interesting. This is an interesting piece of information. Priscilla, who knew that Lisa was in the process of taking steps to remove her as the sole trustee of Lisa's irrevocable life insurance trust, saw an opportunity to regain control. Priscilla rushed to West Hills Hospital, and despite Lisa's clear directive to prolong her life, Priscilla pulled the plug within hours of Lisa being admitted, and before her granddaughter Riley was able to get to the hospital, demanding that Cruz issue a statement to the media so that she could control the narrative. Priscilla demanded that a statement be released immediately, stating, "It is with a heavy heart that I must share the devastating news that my beautiful daughter, Lisa Marie, has left us." Oh, what? Did this really happen this way? Priscilla knew that Lisa's death neutralized the threat of Lisa's efforts to have Priscilla removed as the sole trustee of Lisa's irrevocable life insurance trust, and Priscilla ultimately wanted to control the Promenade Trust and Graceland. At her house the following week before Lisa's funeral, Priscilla exclaimed, "I am the queen. I am in charge of Graceland." Cruz and Fialco were heartbroken by the unsettling behavior. Wow. So they heard her say, "I'm the queen, I'm in charge of Graceland." Within days, Priscilla then filed a petition in court challenging the 2016 amendment to the Promenade Trust, as she tasked Cruz and Fialco with brokering a deal with Riley. Cruz and Fialco ultimately brokered a deal where Priscilla was to be paid $2.4 million in aggregate, and they also brokered a 7-figure deal for Priscilla's son, Navarone, who otherwise would have been entitled to nothing given his excessive drug use that precluded him from payment from Lisa's estate. Cruz and Fialco also negotiated a deal for Harper and Finley Lockwood, Lisa's other children. Michael Lockwood, their father, was their guardian ad litem. and was financially destitute at the time, Cruz and Fialco negotiated a deal for him to be paid $25,000 per month. The overall matter was resolved in June of 2023. Within weeks of resolving Priscilla's estate battle with Riley, who Lisa named as a successor trustee in the 2016 amendment to the Promenade Trust, Cruz was contacted via text by defendant Keon Morgan on June 28, 2023. Morgan claimed that he was Priscilla's friend and falsely claimed that he was an attorney. Defendant Morgan also claimed that he previously owned collectibles gallery and that he bought a big part of the estate of Marlon Brando, Joe DiMaggio, Marilyn Monroe, etc. Naturally, defendant Morgan failed to mention that he had been arrested in 2019 on claims of committing elder abuse against the legendary comic book writer, editor, and publisher Stan Lee. Oh, the creative force behind Marvel Comics and the co-creator of Spider-Man, X-Men, Iron Man, and a host of other renowned comics and book characters. Okay, yeah, so I did find some articles about Keon Morgan, Stanley, former business partner, was charged with elder abuse in 2019 in relation to the treatment of the late Marvel Comics pioneer before his death. So, wow, this guy's no joke. Yeah, he's featured in the AARP website. His case is wow. Okay, let's keep going. Defendant Morgan said that he was represented by attorney Michael Froch, describing him as a contract lawyer, asking Cruz to contact Froch. Defendant Morgan claimed that he and Froch could help get Priscilla's name back from EPE. Okay, this is that Elvis company. Defendant Morgan then oddly spent the next several weeks contacting Cruz, dropping various names, claiming to be close with actor Johnny Depp and others. Okay, let's look at the footnote 7. There's two of them, 7 and 8. After Lisa died, Presley demanded that Cruz and Fialco, who only now understand her true motives, purchase a domain name www.thequeenofrockandroll.com. Indeed, Priscilla spent her life constructing and displaying an image to the public of an innocent and doting mother. But nothing could be further from the truth. Priscilla duped Cruz and Fialco into investing millions of dollars to support Priscilla's lifestyle. And then number 8 footnote says, see Exhibit C, which is a picture of defendant Morgan in court after being charged with elder abuse against Stan Lee. Okay, we'll look into these exhibits are going to be interesting. Okay, let's keep reading. On phone calls with Cruz and Fialco, defendant Morgan claimed that he gained access to celebrities by buying a substantial portion of their estates and using as leverage to befriend them. In an on-about face, defendant Morgan sent a text Cruz. Okay, there's a typo here. Defendant Morgan texted Cruz a vile threat on August 2nd, 2023, claiming, I have over 100 of the biggest VIP clients and billionaires in the world. It's a horrible idea to try and cross words with me and attack me when I'm trying to help you. If I want to insult you or attack you, trust me, you'll know it in a very loud and profound way. Within weeks, defendant Morgan and Priscilla initiated a smear campaign against Cruz and Fialco, deceitfully smearing them with lies. Okay, however, given that Cruz and Fialco had successfully resolved Priscilla's financial crisis, including numerous family lawsuits, Priscilla soon began surreptitiously undermining the NIL, the name, image, and likeness rights of PPP and its sub-licenses, and violating her contractual duties. After abruptly cutting off contract with Cruz and Fialco, she began to exploit her NIL unilaterally, refusing to cooperate with and indeed actively undermining plaintiffs' exploitation efforts, who had already spent a substantial amount of their personal funds on product development for the companies. Adding insult to injury, despite brokering additional compensation for Priscilla from A24 Pictures in connection with Sofia Coppola's Priscilla. Oh, there's that movie, Priscilla. It was Sofia Coppola who did that one. Then set to premiere at the Venice Film Festival in November 2023, Priscilla abruptly cut ties, disinviting Cruz and Fialco from the premiere. Instead, defendant Morgan posted an image of himself and Priscilla on a boat in Venice, Italy, on or around November 6, 2023, claiming he had been in Venice with Priscilla to promote the release of the then highly anticipated Priscilla. Okay, footnote. Conveniently around the exact same time as Priscilla illegally attempted to sever ties with plaintiffs, she released a statement to the media on August 23rd, 2023 regarding her relationship with Riley, which in reality was extremely tenuous. To preserve her image, Priscilla released a statement saying, Riley and I are on good terms. We were never not on good terms. That was all publicity. All right, so and it goes into the parties. So we kind of know who the parties are. We're going to skip over this. It's the companies, and then it goes to jurisdiction as far as where the lawsuit should happen, which we know is in California. Let's go to the factual allegations, even though I think we have a pretty good idea what these allegations are at this point. Okay. Priscilla Presley asked Cruz to correct her business affairs. In August 2022, Priscilla, the former wife of the late Elvis Presley, approached Cruz for help correcting her personal and financial affairs. Okay. Cruz, a well-known auctioneer in the industry for Elvis memorabilia, had met Priscilla several years earlier and developed a close relationship with Priscilla and her family. After witnessing Cruz care for a friend with advanced cancer in June 2022, and after Cruz resolved a potential fiasco where a man claimed to be Elvis's nephew, possibly harming the Presley legacy, Priscilla asked Cruz to help her with her own affairs. Cruz is alleging that she was invited by Priscilla to help out. Priscilla was in severe financial distress due in part to her expensive lifestyle and mismanagement by herself and her former business managers. Priscilla had long relied on others to manage virtually all aspects of her personal life and business. Her finances, banking, relationships, business affairs, and lives were in shambles. At Priscilla's request, Cruz agreed to help correct Priscilla's business and personal affairs with the assistance of Fialco. As a result of their new role, Cruz and Fialco were required to devote their full attention to correcting over 35 years of financial and personal problems that Priscilla and her former managers had created. Despite the cost of their respective ongoing businesses, Cruz and Fialco accepted their new roles in the hopes of working out a financial arrangement that would benefit Priscilla first and foremost. Okay, so they're doing this for free, because I'm not going to fix somebody's 35 years of craziness if I'm not getting paid. Like, what am I getting from this? I'm just being honest with y'all. I mean, you could be a fan of all this stuff, but like, no, no. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Upon taking their new roles, Cruz and Fialco discovered that Priscilla's finances were even worse than expected. Priscilla was approximately 60 days from insolvency with unpaid tax debts alone of nearly $700,000. Priscilla was facing imminent federal tax liens and had numerous past due invoices and late payments with little prospect of future income. Priscilla also faced the threat of multiple lawsuits by her daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, for stealing $60,000 from the Prominent Trust and was threatening with lawsuits from ABG and EPE from her uncle's partner and also from a felon in prison. A felon in prison? What? Who's that? She also was involved in a contentious dispute with her daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, over the proposed sale of a $25 million life insurance policy. With no immediate compensation, Cruz and Fialco sprang into action to prevent Priscilla's financial ruin and public embarrassment. Since Priscilla's finances were in disarray and she was broke, Fialco retained tax counsel for Priscilla to resolve the threat of a lien against her home. They worked with tax attorneys and the IRS to protect hundreds of thousands of dollars and worked to protect Priscilla from the threatened suits. One issue Cruz and Fiasco encountered was that Priscilla was not a senior on her bank accounts at City National Bank. Instead, only Priscilla's business managers were listed as signatories to her account. This caused months of setbacks and difficulty. Cruz and Fialco thus made certain that Priscilla was a signor on the accounts they created for her. On another occasion, Fialco personally paid $40,000 for a flight that Priscilla took to Memphis, for which he was not repaid for months. At Priscilla's insistence, she flew by private. Girl, but if you can't afford it, you ain't listen, you are flying right next to you flying with everybody, okay? Because if what what is this? Based on their performance, Cruz and Fialco responsibilities increased. Priscilla asked Cruz to serve as a co-trustee of her trust, her healthcare surrogate, and to exercise general power of attorney for her. Priscilla also asked Cruz and Fialco to create a trust and serve as trustees for her son, Navrin. Priscilla asked Fialco to exercise power of attorney and medical power of attorney for Navrin. In fact, Priscilla demanded that Cruz and Fialco handle Navrin's affairs. Priscilla was aware that Navrin was unstable and his reckless drug use created issues that could affect her ability to exploit her brand. Cruz and Fialco obliged these requests. Cruz and Fialco worked to restructure Priscilla's finances to increase her revenue and lower her expenses and taxes, which were exceedingly high in her California residence. In an effort to reduce her expense and because her current residence was unsafe, Priscilla decided to relocate to Florida. In addition to drastically lowering Priscilla's living expenses, moving to Florida would bring Priscilla closer to her grandchild, the grandchild of Elvis and Presley, who still resides in Florida as of today. Priscilla signed a lease for a residence in Orlando, intending to stay there while exploring permanent housing options in Florida. Priscilla also had many of her belongings shipped to Florida in preparation for relocating there. Additionally, Cruz and Fialco realized that Priscilla's former managers had failed to fully exploit her name, image, likeness, perhaps her most valuable asset. Accordingly, Cruz and Fialco began working with Priscilla to monetize Priscilla's celebrity. To that end, Cruz and Fialco arranged increased events and appearances for Priscilla, and the revenue to Priscilla for these events and appearances where she could use her celebrity to generate revenue. Cruz and Fialco also identified numerous errors in contracts negotiated by prior management that related to Priscilla's name, image, and likeness and sought to renegotiate these. In September of 2022, following the announcement that Sofia Coppola would direct Priscilla, a new adaptation of Priscilla's memoir, Cruz and Fialco arranged numerous engagements for Priscilla to capitalize on the opportunity. Cruz and Fialco consulted for the firm in efforts to protect Priscilla's name, image, and likeness. Specifically, Cruz and Fialco hired the law firm Skadden Arps to renegotiate a poorly written deal previously put together by Priscilla's business manager, Siegel. Okay, to further exploit Priscilla's name, image, and likeness, Fialco and Priscilla decided to create companies to own, manage, and exploit name, image, and likeness, which would do business in Florida and be managed by Cruz and Fialco. Cruz and Fialco and Priscilla Presley formed companies to exploit Presley's name, image, and likeness. Okay, so Priscilla's Florida attorney Wright, at Presley's direction, drafted an operating agreement creating PPP and PBPBK2. Oh my God. Recollections and virtual recollections. On January 8, 2023, Priscilla signed these operating agreements in Florida. At Attorney Wright's insistence, Attorney Wright conducted a confidential interview with Priscilla to ensure that she understood the nature of the agreements she was entering into and wanted to proceed. Again, at Attorney Wright's insistence, the interview was videotaped. After the interview, Attorney Wright authorized Priscilla to proceed with signing. The newly formed companies were as follow. Okay, so they're going to talk about the companies here. I mean, these are all, I guess, all of these are the companies. Okay, let's keep going. PPP purpose is, among other things, owning, controlling, developing, collecting, commercially exploiting, licensing, sub-licensing, and assigning rights relative to Priscilla's name, image, and likeness. The NIL. PPP would give non-exclusive sub-licenses in Priscilla's NIL to other entities. PBPBK2, recollections and virtual recollections. PBPBK2 purpose is, among other things, sublicense limited rights in Priscilla's name, image, and likeness to Celia, a skincare product company, for one product and an option on another product, a face serum and an eye serum, respectively. Through PBPBK2, Cruz and Fialco renegotiated an image and name, image, and likeness deal with Scylla. Oh, I guess it's like, okay, I'm saying it wrong. Scylla. It's supposed to be like Priscilla's last four letters. Priscilla's prior business managers had previously negotiated an unfavorable deal regarding Scylla's use of Presley's name, image, and likeness, which provided Scylla complete name, image, and likeness rights to exclude all products for 8 years. Okay, so again, more like contractual talk. Recollections. Purpose is, among other things, to protect, monitor, and control Priscilla's letters of recollections in which Priscilla attests to her personal recollection of items of personal property associated with her personal history to increase their selling value. Priscilla had previously sold her recollections in this matter for auctions at Graceland. Okay. Virtual recollections. Virtual recollections purpose broadly includes functioning as a live event booking and merchandising company that utilizes celebrity and their likeness for the purposes of booking events, merchandising, and other matters. This purpose includes exploiting non-fungible tokens, digital assets, jewelries, clothing, real or virtual events, real or virtual museums, and any and all cards and digital messages. Cruz and Fialco invested over $500,000 to advance this business, while Priscilla made minimal financial contributions. Okay, in agreement and acknowledgement attached and incorporated into the PPP operations agreement. Priscilla signed and licensed PPP in perpetuity, all rights relative to Presley and IL, including the exclusive rights to use, develop, protect, commercially exploit, license, sublicense, and assign rights in or to Priscilla and IL. PPP then sublicensed non-exclusive limited rights to Priscilla's NIL to PBPBK2 recollections and virtual recollections to allow those companies to pursue their various business objectives. However, okay, here, all right, let's get to the however now. Priscilla deceived Cruz and Fialco by failing to disclose to them prior to signing the operating agreement that Priscilla had already sold her rights to the names Presley and Graceland in 2005 to ABG. Oh, when Cruz and Fialco learned about this prior deal, Priscilla repeatedly denied it until Priscilla's granddaughter, Riley Keogh, shared the deal with Cruz and Fialco on information and believed Priscilla sold the names Presley and Graceland to ABG for approximately $6.5 million, which she had already spent by 2022. Despite the size of this multi-million-dollar payout, the largest Priscilla's lifetime, Priscilla later told Cruz and Fialco that she simply forgot about it. How do you forget? And how do you guys not look in? Like, why wouldn't you? So Cruz and Fialco, why didn't you independently look into this? You just trusted whatever this woman said, just because she's a Presley. You know, she married into it. That's crazy. But okay. I mean, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Shortly after signing the operating agreement for PPP and its sub licenses, Priscilla asked the other members, Cruz and Fialco, to help her resolve a dispute with Riley Keough, Presley's granddaughter, and the Prominent Trust. Priscilla also asked Cruz and Fialco to assist her with a threatened suit from ABG, which threatened to sue Priscilla for breach of their prior NIL agreement. The dispute with Riley Keough and the Prominent Trust was consuming all of Priscilla's time and attention, while the lawsuit with ABG threatened the company's ability to exploit Priscilla's NIL. Cruz and Fialco thus worked tirelessly to resolve both disputes so that Priscilla could focus her efforts on assisting the company's exploitation of her NIL. Okay, we have a footnote. Despite the fact that plaintiff Cruz and Fialco had already invested a significant sum of money into Priscilla to grow the value around her name, image, and likeness. Joel Weinshaker, managing partner of EPE, advised on August 9, 2022, that Priscilla had already sold those rights to them and that EPE was going to sue Priscilla. Priscilla continued to deny these claims despite the deal she entered into with EPE in 2005 that that she failed to disclose. Oh, okay. They're showing exhibits, y'all. We got to see these exhibits. That's interesting here. Despite their efforts in securing Priscilla a $2.4 million settlement agreement with the Prominent Trust, Priscilla never compensated any of the entities for this work. Despite the favorable resolution of these issues, she not only refused to assist the companies in exploiting her NIL, but almost immediately began breaching her agreements with the companies to exploit her NIL for her own account. Priscilla Presley agrees not to exploit her NIL unilaterally, not to compete, and to assist Virtual Recollections exploitation of her NIL. In addition to assigning and licensing her NIL in perpetuity for the use of the PPP and its sub-licensees, Priscilla undertook a variety of contractual obligations related to the use of her NIL. In the PPP operating agreement, Priscilla agreed not to exploit her NIL unilaterally apart from PPP and its authorized sub-licensees. So I guess this is part of the contract. Any member shall be free to pursue opportunities in a similar space without being prohibited by the terms of these agreements, regardless of whether said opportunities include other members and or managers, other limited liability companies or like entities, provided, however, that any and all development, commercial exploitation, licensing, sub-licensing, and assignments of rights in or to Presley's NIL must be accomplished through the company by actions of its managers. The PPP operating agreement also provides that members may engage in business and investments activities outside the company that are not competitive with the company, and neither the company nor the other members have any rights to the property, profits, or benefits of such activities. In the virtual recollection operating agreement, Priscilla further agreed not to compete with virtual recollections use of her NIL and to firmly assist its exploitation efforts. In an agreement and acknowledgement attached and incorporated in the Virtual Recollections Operating Agreement, the Virtual Recollections Agreement and Acknowledgement, Priscilla agreed to lend her name, likeness, reputation, experience, and participation to the development and commercial exploitation of all digital imagery. Priscilla further agrees to devote such time to her duties on behalf of Virtual Recollections as reasonably necessary to the successful performance thereof, and will use her best efforts to advance the interests of Virtual Recollections and to assist Virtual Recollections in establishing and preserving relationships with customers, potential customers, vendors, suppliers, partners, and co vendors. Finally, Priscilla agreed that other than the other than for virtual recollections or recollections, Priscilla will not engage in any person or entity to develop or commercially exploit her NIL. Well, I hope they have all this in writing. I mean, it does sound like they do, and it's why they're suing. The virtual recollections agreements and acknowledgement also requires Priscilla not to usurp opportunities for virtual recollections. It provides Presley will not engage in negotiations with ABG and other through RPP. Interference with any such corporate opportunity to RPP will constitute a breach of Presley's obligations to VRPP, including Presley's fiduciary obligations to VRPP. Given virtual recollections business purpose, these companies' opportunities include opportunities related to its functions as a live event booking and merchandising company that utilizes celebrities and their likeness for the purposes of booking events, merchandising, and other matters. So Priscilla Presley agrees to disclose offers to exploit her NIL. Soon after signing the operating agreement, Priscilla began flagrantly violating them by exploiting her NIL apart from PPP and its sublicensees. Cruz and Fialco realized that Priscilla was deceiving them regarding her intentions to comply with the operating agreement they signed. When Cruz and Fialco raised the issue with Priscilla, however, she begged them to stay on and continued to help. Despite the hardship to their business pursuits and personal affairs, Cruz and Fialco agreed to stay with Priscilla on the condition that she agreed to fully disclose her business dealings to them as they arose. Thus, a month after signing the operating agreement, Cruz and Priscilla entered into additional agreement to clarify Priscilla's duties related to NIL. On March 24th, 2023, Priscilla and Cruz entered into a guarantor, settler, and principal ongoing duty to disclose business opportunities. The disclosure agreement. In the disclosure agreement, Presley agreed to immediately disclose in writing to Cruz should she receive any offer to use her NIL. Priscilla further acknowledged that failure to disclose such offers as required could result in a great risk of loss to Presley ongoing and established LLC interests, including PPP, PBPBK2, recollections and virtual recollections. Why do they keep entering into businesses with this woman? That's what I don't get. It's almost like they're wanting to do a favor for her, but they know what the outcome is going to be, you know? Priscilla Presley abruptly cuts Cruz and Fialco and misappropriates the NIL. Oh man. Through August 2023, Cruz and Fialco continue the efforts to exploit Priscilla's NIL on behalf of PPP, PBPBK2, recollections and virtual recollections. They launch merchandise, arrange global bookings and public engagements, and launch new ventures, both physical and digital. They further expended significant capital developing new products and intellectual property intended to be marketed in conjunction with the upcoming 2023 release of Priscilla. On August 27, 2022, and January 8, 2023, respectively, for instance, Cruz and Fialco used their personal funds to pay for Priscilla's travel to an auction of Elvis related jewelry. The Colonel Tom Park collection and the Me Come Kiss Me collection collector car auction, where Elvis's jet was sold to enhance Priscilla's publicity and increase the value of her NIL. Cruz and Fialco additionally paid for the jewelry and the jet to put Presley in the spotlight and increase the value of her NIL. In preparation for Priscilla, Cruz and Fialco requested script revisions, negotiated appearance fees, hired Skadden Arps, and renegotiated Presley's original contract with Priscilla's producers, which purported to own Priscilla's full NIL, and collected funds owed to Priscilla and her prior managers had failed to collect. Additionally, Cruz and Fialco negotiated appearance fees, travel expenses including travel to Italy, appearance fees, glam, wardrobe, security, and hotel accommodations for Priscilla and her team, including Cruz and Fialco, to attend Priscilla's premiere at the Venice Film Festival on September 4th, 2023. On August 24, 2023, however, Cruz unexpectedly received a notice revoking her power of attorney for Priscilla. The next day, Cruz received a letter from an attorney, Michael Frock, purportedly sent on behalf of Priscilla, alleging a range of false and far-fetched claims against her, such as an allegation that Cruz had attempted to sell Priscilla's home. As Priscilla's counsel later acknowledged, this accusation was based on Priscilla's misunderstanding. Regardless, after this letter, Priscilla cut off communication with Cruz and Fialco and other individuals associated with them. Wow. On information and belief, defendant Morgan helped convince Priscilla to cut ties with Cruz and Fialco, although Priscilla assured Cruz and Fialco that she would not associate with Kenya Morgan. Keon Morgan? I think it's Keon Morgan. After Cruz and Fialco expressed concerns about his character, Priscilla continued to publicly associate with him. Is it possible that this guy who, was basically charged with Stan Lee's, elderly abuse, that he could be kind of wiggling his room in, Priscilla Presley's life and money and, tried to exploit her? Huh. But I don't know, man, because this lawsuit makes Priscilla Presley look horrible too. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Additionally, on information and belief, Vicky Hannikin, Priscilla Presley's assistant, Barbara Iverson, Presley's cousin, and Navarone also helped convince Priscilla to cut off communication with Cruz and Fialco, and have consistently interfered with the businesses created to exploit Priscilla's NIL. The way they're using the word exploit, like I hear exploit, I think bad, but they're using it in like a business term, right? Like she signed up to have her name, image, and likeness exploited. Okay, and there's contracts for this. Just days before the $2.4 million settlement payout with Riley Keough and the Promenade Trust was finalized, which Cruz and Fialco had worked tirelessly to negotiate, Cruz and Fialco were terminated. Cruz and Fialco were never compensated for their work, despite helping to secure Priscilla a $2.4 million settlement. So they never got paid for the things that they did for this woman. Like, that's crazy, guys. They were working for free, I guess. Ultimately, Cruz and Fialco were never compensated to resolving Priscilla's numerous lawsuits. And managing Priscilla's family issues so that she could properly exploit her brand. Although PPP was integral to the Priscilla movie, having worked on the project for over a year, Cruz and Fialco were excluded from the September 4, 2023 premiere. Priscilla further refused to cooperate with and indeed actively undermined Cruz and Fialco's efforts to exploit the NIL opportunities presented by the premiere on behalf of PPP and Virtual Recollections. Without being in attendance, Cruz and Fialco could not execute their plan to sell on behalf of PPP and Virtual Recollections at the premiere and lost the opportunity to pursue further relationships with Priscilla producers. Okay, there's more exhibits. We're going to look at those next. Cruz and Fialco intended to use the premiere to launch worldwide merchandise they were developing based on Priscilla's NIL. Priscilla has also excluded plaintiff from fees from Priscilla's upcoming book deal and from exploit her brand in connections with the recent Naked Gun film release. Excluding Cruz and Fialco from Priscilla premiere breach Priscilla's duty to use her best efforts to advance the interests of Virtual Recollections and to assist Virtual Recollections in establishing and preserving relationships with customers, potential customers, vendors, suppliers, partners, and co-venturers. It also breached Priscilla's duty not to usurp virtual recollections business opportunities. Given virtual recollections business opportunities, Priscilla was required to assist and not to usurp virtual recollections opportunities related to its function as a live event booking and merchandising company that utilizes celebrities and their likeness for the purposes of booking events and merchandising and other matters. Just days after the premiere of Priscilla on September 7, 2023, NBC announced that Presley would participate in a production called Christmas at Graceland. Priscilla did not disclose any offers related to this use of her NIL to Cruz, breaching the disclosure agreement. Christmas at Graceland aired on ABC on November 29, 2023. Again, Priscilla failed to include Cruz and Fialco to this use of her NIL breach. Her affirmative duty to assist virtual recollections and her duty not to usurp opportunities from virtual recollections. Additionally, Priscilla breached her duty under the PPP agreement not to exploit her NIL part from PPP and its authorized sub-licensees. Priscilla's participation and use of her image in this production was without consent by PPP or virtual recollection. But all of this was supposed to be helping her. So she kind of like, worked against herself, I guess. Currently, Priscilla's personal website, PriscillaPresley.com, offers an appearance request function and lists multiple recent and upcoming events. I did see that on her website. On information and belief, Priscilla is paid for these appearances, uses them to promote and exploit her celebrity, among other things, by selling photo ops, autographs, memorabilia, signing, and voice recordings. Okay. For instance, the web page from August 23rd, 23 through 25, 2025, Tampa Comic Convention advertises under Priscilla's image, guest experiences, celebrity autographs, celebrity photo ops, panel programming, photo ops 100, pre-purchase now, and autographs 60 available on site at Celebrity Row. Priscilla also previously announced that she was appearing at the Motor City Comic Con in Michigan on November 9th through the 10th, 2024, where it was publicly advertised that Presley would be available for autographs $60, fan item autographs 80, 6-word quotes 20, selfies 80s, professional photo ops 100. Wow. Priscilla has not disclosed any offers she received to attend these events, breaching her disclosure agreement. Priscilla has further excluded Cruz and Fialco on behalf of PPP and virtual recollections from these events, breaching her affirmative duty to assist virtual recollections and exploiting her NIL, her duty not to usurp opportunities from virtual recollections, and her duty under the PPP agreement not to exploit her NIL apart from PPP and its authorized sub-licensees. Priscilla's public appearance alone breach these duties since there are themselves acts exploiting her celebrity. Her breaches are all the more egregious due to, on information and belief, her acceptance of payment for her appearances and sale of photo ops, autographs, and memorabilia signing and voice recordings. Additionally, on information and belief, Priscilla has directed Scylla to circumvent PBPBK2 and made payments for its use of her NIL directed to Priscilla instead of PBPBK2. Priscilla thus induced Scylla to breach the Scylla endorsement agreement, which requires that such payments go directly to PBPBK2. Okay, so she's messing up all of this. Okay, and therefore breaching several contracts. Priscilla has also withdrawn funds from without authorization from Florida bank accounts set up for PBPBK2 recollections and virtual recollections and closed the accounts, causing business disruptions. Priscilla breached the operating agreement of these three companies by withdrawing these funds without authorization and by retaining the funds in violation of the waterfall distribution structure of each operating agreement. On information and belief, Priscilla is also cooperating with and assisting Graceland's use of NIL. Priscilla knows that Graceland's use of NIL competes with and undermines PPP and virtual recollections plan to create a virtual museum using Presley's NIL. Priscilla receives a monthly stipend from a trust, the Promenade Trust, which receives funds from the last trust that operates Graceland. On information and belief, Priscilla has accepted and is continuing to accept other offers to exploit her NIL. Wow. All conditions precedents to this action have occurred, been satisfied, or have been waived. Plaintiffs have retained the undersigned counsel and are obligated to pay the reasonable attorney fees and costs incurred in this matter. Okay, so they have the first action here, fraud in inducement, which that would be the first action. I'm going to try to scurry over. Second is common counts, goods and services rendered. Conversion. Okay, let's see. Conversion. And these are just like different companies. So conversion for each, like virtual recollection. See if we can go down because we've already read the what they were going after Priscilla for. Now let me see if I can scroll all the way to the bottom. Okay, we got to look at these exhibits. Okay, oh my God. They put the Advanced Health Care Directive. It's Lisa Marie Presley's Healthcare Advance Directive. This is the form. Part 1, Power of Attorney for Healthcare. Designation of Agent. I, Lisa Marie Presley, designate the following individuals as my agents to make healthcare decisions for me. Priscilla Presley, Michael D. Lockwood, Danielle Riley Keon, Benjamin Storm Keon, acting unanimously. So Priscilla's information is in there, and her financial Barry Siegel manager's there. Michael's information is there, and I'm like blocking this because we don't need to. It's showing addresses and phone numbers and stuff. If I revoke my agent authority, or if my agent is not willing, able, or reasonable, available to make healthcare decisions for me, I designate as my first alternate agent. So she designated other people. Okay, look at this. Agent authority. My agent is authorized to make all healthcare decisions for me, including decisions to provide, withhold, or withdraw artificial nutrition and hydration and all forms of health care to keep me alive, except as I stated here, none, none, none. When agent's authority becomes effective, my agent's authority become effective when my primary physician determines that I'm unable to make my own healthcare decisions unless I mark the following box. She never marked that box. Y'all can see that here. It's not marked. My agent authority to make healthcare decisions for me takes effective immediately. Okay, I'm going to scroll down. Agent post-death authority. My agent shall carry out the post-death instructions set forth below next to the box in which I have placed my initials. Okay, she didn't say anything about an autopsy. Disposition of remains. I direct that my remains be buried. Okay. It further says here, arrangement for deposition of remains. My remains shall be buried at Graceland, located in Memphis, Tennessee, immediately adjacent to the burial site of my father, Elvis Presley. If arrangements for the deposition of my remains at Graceland have been made prior to my death, then such deposition shall be made in accordance with the arrangements. Otherwise, arrangements for the disposition of my remains at Graceland shall be made following my death. In the unlikely event that no such arrangements have been made prior to my death or can be made following my death, my agent shall determine the location for my disposition of my remains. Additional instructions: no sad funeral. She didn't want a sad funeral. Look at this, you guys. So here in the end of life decision part 2, By placing my initials in one of the two boxes below, I direct my healthcare providers and others involved in my care withhold or withdraw treatment, including without limitations, conventional and experimental medical treatment, artificial nutrition and hydration, respirators, antibiotics, transfusions, dialysis, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and other forms of health care to keep me alive in accordance with the choice A or B. So A was not selected. Choice not to prolong life. And that would have been I do not want any effort to prolong my life by the provision of any medical treatment. She didn't choose that. She chose B, choice to prolong life. I want my life to be prolonged as long as possible within the limits of generally accepted healthcare standards. Oh my God. And these are her initials, guys. She put exclamation point, y'all. She wanted her life to be prolonged. This is crazy. Okay. Now, my question is, did they have a conversation with her that said, well, if her life is prolonged, it's going to be, outside of the limits of general accepted healthcare standards? Okay, it further goes. Relief from pain. Relief from pain. By placing my initials in one of the two boxes below, I direct that I receive such treatment for the alleviation of pain or discomfort as described below. There was A and B. She chose B. A is such treatment as may fall within the limits of generally accepted healthcare standards. Okay. She wanted B, such treatment as shall include without limitations the provision of ample narcotics and drugs of any type, the administration of any medical procedure, including unconventional pain relief methods, which my agent, following consultation with my treating physician, believes may be helpful. So she was willing to get treatment to relieve whatever pain she was going through. And then she puts additional, there's none, none, none. Other wishes, none. Okay. Independent living optional. If I initial this line, which she did, the following statement shall be effective. I wish to live in my home for as long as reasonably possible without endangering my physical or mental health and safety, and to receive whatever assistance from household employees or personal caregivers as may be necessary to permit me to do so, provided, however, that if my agent determines that appropriate household employees or personal caregivers are not available, without putting my financial position or physical or mental health at risk or safety at risk, then I will live in at least restrictive and most home-like setting deemed appropriate by my agent. But she put her mother as her agent, guys, and others. She says, I wish to return home as soon as reasonably possible after my any hospitalization or transfer. Okay. And then she further selects this, okay? If I initial this line, which she did, the following statement shall be effective. And I'm only just kind of skimming through the statement. If my agent and the trustee of Prominent Trust, dated January 29, 1993, as amended, disagree with respects to the use of funds of said trust to carry out my intent as expressed in this paragraph 2.4, the decision of the following shall control. Choose one. My agent or my trustee. It looks like she had initially selected my trustee and then decided my agent. This is just crazy. This is her donation of organs. She doesn't select anything. She says, I do not want to give my any organs or tissue or any part. Okay. Execution. So she signs this. She signed this January 27, 2010. Okay, that's her signature. Okay. And her witnesses are a couple of people whose names I have redacted and I don't want to say. Because, some of the stuff is private. Let's go to Exhibit B. So, Exhibit B is an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. Okay. And, okay, so in this, it involves Priscilla Presley, Bridget Bridget Cruz and Kevin Fialco. This is their private and confidential MOU. Okay. And it just kind of goes over the companies. Okay. Terms, description and engagement. I'm not going to go through this, but it gives all the stuff that they're suing for. Terms of engagement, non-competition, compensation. This is them signing. They're signing an MOU here, okay? And everything, all terms to be finalized in definitive agreement. So they kind of entered into this contract. Okay, Exhibit Z. Oh yeah, this is that's that guy. What's his name? K Morgan or Kai Morgan? I think it's K Morgan. That's him. What is this? A text message? What is this? August 9th, 2022. Thanks for the call. I need to run all this by my sellers. Is there someone at EPE that I can get a copy of the agreement you told me about with Priscilla? My personal email. I do want you to know that we did ask her if she had a contract with you. Person responds, can't share agreements as it's obviously confidential. Do you have anything I can share with my sellers in writing? That would help me a lot. I cannot. We're moving forward with service to Priscilla. Please allow me to make some calls and work through this together. This is getting a lot bigger, so not. Okay, that message cut out there. Okay, there's another message. He's a liar. There's no agreement between Joel and I. He responded and said he can't share the agreement because it's confidential. He can't make demands and claims. When I asked for proof in efforts to work with him, deny access, no mention was made of Barry. Okay, they're referring to Barry Siegel by me or other than me, asking if you are her manager. Then who is Barry? I saw it on Google. I think it's Google. Joel called me just now. I want you to know that I requested a copy of his agreement with you. He was very nice when he called. Okay. Exhibit F. Priscilla lipstick. This must be because it's like Scylla, right? This is it. That's all we have. 65 pages. Oh my goodness, y'all. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this whole situation. Lord have mercy. This is just messy, but like, did Priscilla Presley pull the plug way too early? And then clearly the lady's got some financial stuff and she's being kind of exposed here. What do you guys think? I mean, I just had to get this lawsuit so we can all review it together. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.